Hi everyone, I'm Eun Yang and welcome to Nonstop Foodies DC. Today we're coming to you from Falls Church, and within an office building in a business area on the ground floor is this beautiful restaurant. This is 2941, and earlier this year the restaurant shut down to make way for some huge renovations. We're talking about big changes to the menu, to the bar scene, and the general feel for the whole restaurant. We'll check it out in just a minute, but first we want to take you to a new restaurant called H&N Pizza. The owner there says he wants to bridge the gap between your typical pizza pie and your by the slice locations and bring some fine dining aspects to your fast food experience. Here's Steve Salas with H&N Pizza.
H&N Pizza is a new pizza concept that focuses on creating customizable, made-to-order, personal size only gourmet pizzas using all specifically and locally sourced ingredients. And we have the ability to cook the pizzas in approximately 90 seconds or less using a special oven technology. $6.82 for any dough, sauce, and cheese, and $8.64 for toppings. Albeit whether it be one topping or 5 toppings, we price it out at $8.64, and so that's our ceiling. We want to picture it almost as a blank canvas and let sort of our consumer be the artist and let them paint their own picture and do that in a way that, you know, really they can get what they want. You could come in one day and be indulgent. You could come in one day and be healthy. You could come in one day and really, I mean, you really just could do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. We also have 10 household selections, all $8.64 as well. Farmer's Daughter, definitely I would say, has the most novelty. We actually take cage-free farm eggs and we crack them onto our pie. And so the Farmer's Daughter is a really interesting product because I think people love the allure of seeing the eggs, and I think a lot of people have never really had eggs on a pizza before eating them here, so what our consumers have said to us, and they've fallen in love with it. It's definitely something that we think is interesting and unique. We really want the extra mile to really source ingredients we felt really worked. We tested approximately 35 different pepperonis before we integrated the pepperoni that we brought in. You know, our house-made mozzarella, I think, is a huge key differentiator from our business. We spec and curd from Wisconsin, we bring it in, and we do a cheese production here. We make our meatballs here, our veal and pork meatballs are from scratch, our sausages are from scratch. So what we've done, we've been able to take a lot of, I would say, casual and fine dining, I'd say some of the methods of that, and brought them into a fast food environment. What our household selections have done is really show the consumer that you can do more. And I think what it's done is allowed them to see that, and now as a result of it, use those as kind of like the training wheels into now graduating to riding the bike. And so now what they're doing is building their own pies and getting interactive with the product and having a lot of fun with it.
We're back inside 2941 and take a look at this spacious dining room. It is a really large dining room with high ceilings, but a warm feeling as well. And the thing that struck me the most about the inside of this dining space is the beautiful artwork here. This is like being inside of a museum, and there are so many different kinds of art, from the Herbert James Draper on the wall, which is a beautiful oil painting, to the Jose Alvarez, which is more contemporary art. And speaking of museums, we know that food is not just something we eat, it's a part of our history and our culture. Well, now it's also the focus of a new exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum of American History.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica Gonzalez for The Nonstop, and we are at a new exhibit at the Smithsonian American History Museum entitled Food, and how all the different cultures in the country have come together to influence the American table. And on this table specifically, you can see all of the different food pyramids that have come across in the ages, and judging by this one in the 50s, I have a feeling that Weight Watchers could take a look at that and say that's all your points for one day. With me is Raina Green, who is one of the curators for the exhibit, and it used to be that Chinese food and Italian food were the additions to American culture, and now it seems like Mexican food has just overtaken it.
Taken over. That's the revolution.
Love it, love it.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it really starts with a quintessential piece to Mexican food and the Mexican culture, which is the tortilla.
The tortilla, which every grandmother made in her own community for her own family, and which this grandmother, this abuelita, took out as thousands of Mexican-American women did, actually women throughout the world.
So this is what it got started with.
This one is the new tortilladora and the new molino mill. This is electric.
Okay.
This stuff came in the 40s, and part of it was made in Mexico, part of it in LA.
Really?
And they one of the sons gave Abuelita the new machines, and she turned out tortillas and tamales for her family, but then produced them for the community.
Absolutely.
And the grandkids sold them to stores all over the place. And we jumped from those tortillas that went to the community to tortillas on every supermarket
to be able to do
shelf.
mass production.
Yeah, every supermarket shelf in America now. I mean, you can go anywhere.
Of course, we can't forget there is no good Mexican meal that is equipped without a good, strong margarita. And that's also very important because here in the exhibit, you guys have the world's first frozen margarita machine. And this also came from Dallas.
It also came from Dallas, from Mariano's in Dallas. He was a young restaurateur in the early 70s, and his bartenders were making those margaritas with blenders, and it made them crazy. This drink was newly popular. He didn't invent the frozen margarita. He just got an old soft serve machine and tinkered with it, tinkered with the sugar levels in the mix so that he could turn out industrially correct margaritas. They would be the same, they would be uniform, and he built an empire out of that. And margaritas are associated with that growth of Mexican-American restaurants all over the country and became kind of an emblematic part of everybody's Tex-Mex or Cal-Mex or New Mex meal.
I love it. Just a bit of the Mexican food revolution and how it came to transform the American table here at the Smithsonian.
Joining me now is the executive chef of 2941, Bertrand Chemel. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Now, you have headed a major change at 2941. Tell us about some of the renovations you've made here at this restaurant.
So this restaurant is about 10 years old, and this year in January, we wanted to give a little twist to 2941 from a modern French-American to a little more relaxed atmosphere. We wanted to bring, I think, the cooking to a different level. We wanted to bring a little more Mediterranean, and for me, Mediterranean is more south of France, Italy, Spain, and I love all those ingredients.
You were talking about the fact that the restaurant is more approachable and more relaxed.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Well, for me, it was to remove tablecloth, which it takes away the stuffiness of a restaurant. To be more approachable for us was to really look at our prices, but without affecting the quality.
So you said approachable in decor and also on the menu and the food that you're making as well?
Yeah, I think, we can sample something. It's we still like to create beautiful design dishes. I think it's if it looks beautiful, it's more enjoyable. And I think, from a beet salad, so we like to give him a little twist. We put some Asian pear, we caramelize hazelnut, but on the bottom you have a little creamy foam d'ambert from Auvergne. Then we go from seasonal raviolini. It's filled with mascarpone and broccoli. It's served with smoked piopini mushroom and Parmesan cheese. We have a fried pork belly that has been confit in duck fat, served with a celery salad. And the twist of this one was to use a fermented garlic and to make a aioli with it.
Wonderful.
So always go back to the French classic and using a little bit of Mediterranean ingredients. My message to my guests when we announced the change, because it's a beautiful restaurant, we're in front of a lake, and people didn't want to lose that atmosphere. And also the cooking style that we had before. So that's why we're taking those ingredients and always work on the presentation to make really great impression on the freshness and the presentation. So I guess now we have some dessert coming in. Yeah. So here it's our pastry chef, Caitlin Dissar, which...
Nice to see you. It's beautiful.
So we have a chocolate bar with caramelized pecan and fleur de sel and cinnamon ice cream.
Oh. this is something that I will lick the plate clean.
And I think this, so we like to work with seasonal ingredients. So this is a tangerine creamsicle. So we're using, on the bottom of the tangerine, you have tangerine granite. We're doing a tangerine sorbet with a vanilla. And we top it with a little bit of alva, which is it's a sesame paste that we shred it. So it gives you a little bit Mediterranean flavor to a American dessert. So it's like, it's our version of the creamsicle.
Wow, so you have such a diverse and wide range of offerings, but still you're saying that the quality of the food has not changed at all.
No, I think that's what for us to be more approachable. We're more creative on the dishes we're doing. I think before it was to get very high-end ingredients and serve it well. Now it's to get other ingredients and to bring to another level.
Wonderful. All right, Chef Bertrand Chemel, thank you so much. Can't wait to try all this beautiful food. It looks delicious. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We're now in the kitchen with Chef Bertrand Chemel, and he is going to make for us today a lobster fettuccine, and I'm so excited about this. It's like you knew I was coming.
Yeah.
Because I love lobster and I love pasta, and you're going to combine them. So where do we begin, Chef?
Well, so the idea of this fettuccine, it's kind of to represent our restaurant as a French Mediterranean influence. First, we're going to make a stock, lobster stock, which is made with red peppers. Then we have fresh fennel, piquillo pepper, which is a little bit smoky pepper from Spain, gives a great flavor. Little bit of garlic, and we're gonna have a pimento de la vera, which is a smoked paprika. So what we start, it's we use a little bit of oil. We're gonna sweat our vegetables. Then we have some fresh seafood. So what we do, it's we crushed a whole lobster. So we get all the meat, the flavor of the bones, the coral of the lobster. What we're gonna add to this, the crushed lobster, some fresh calamari, and we're using the head for the stock. We're gonna add a little bit of pimento de la vera. We're using also a saffron from Spain. So the idea of this dish is to represent a paella flavor. You want to make sure that when you add the saffron, you You want to cook it slowly so you don't burn the spices. Then we're going to put some clams. We're going to deglaze with a little bit of dry vermouth. And now you're going to see that the stock is going to get the saffron flavor, the pepper is going to infuse in it. We're going to add some water. We will cover it. And now you want to cook it for about 20-30 minutes so all the flavor infuse together. After 30 minutes, here's what you get. You get a nice shellfish stock. So for the pasta, we're using a little bit of olive oil. And again, we're gonna use a little bit of the garlic. So you want to fry a little bit the garlic so the oil gets a very nice flavor. The piquillo pepper, which the piquillo pepper has a very nice, they kind of like burn them a little bit, so they get a great flavor. And now you're gonna deglaze with the stock. So also at the restaurant, we make all our own fresh pasta. What is great with fresh pasta, it's gonna cook very, very fast.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna add a little bit of more olive oil to get the liaison. Obviously, as French, we always like to add some butter. Then we're gonna add our pasta. We're gonna have lobster. We're gonna have some wedges of calamari. You know, we can use some of our clams. We're gonna finish with some fresh basil. We like to, we don't like to have classic recipes. I think it's, for me, it's to enjoy to combine different flavor and different spices, to have a French technique to it, but I think it's more to bring all the essence and flavors together. Obviously, you don't want to, the calamari cooks very, very fast.
Yes.
So you can take a fork and you're gonna add some of the clams. There we go. It's great any time of the year. In summer, in winter, when it's very cold outside. You take your lobster. There you go. So you have it's the idea to bring you the Mediterranean to your plate.
One of the renovations here at 2941 was the whole bar area. It's now an oval style. You can walk in, grab a drink before you head out to dinner. And joining me now is Jonathan Schuyler. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here.
And tell us what you've created here.
So this is a sampling of some of the things that we're going to be doing at the bar here. This is called a gunslinger. It's sort of our answer to a whiskey sour. So it's our house-made sour wicks. As you can see, there's a little egg white, so it foams up on the top. A little bit of our Buffalo Trace, which is our whale whiskey. And then it's got Bitterman's Hellfire Habanero Bitters, so it's kind of got this spicy edge about it. And this here we call the Witch's Brew. It's sort of a take on a margarita, but with a little bit of chartreuse and some celery bitters, and agave. So a little sweet, a little sour, a little herbal, kind of a fun piece.
Jonathan, thanks so much. So craft cocktails here at 2941. This might be the piece de resistance, though, at the bar, apparently. This is the Daffy Burger. This is not your ordinary burger, though. This is ground up duck meat with foie gras, topped with more foie gras, and apparently someone told me a secret. It's all about the agrodolce, which is caramelized onions that have a sweet and sour flavor. And of course, you know I'm going to have to try this burger. Bear with me. The Source in Penn Quarter serves up delicious Pan-Asian cuisine. The chef there, though, has a special affinity for Chinese cuisine. Chef Scott Druno, though, says that cooking Chinese food at home doesn't have to be intimidating. In fact, he shared his recipe for Chinese-style barbecue ribs. Thanks for joining us. We're back in the kitchen at The Source with Chef Scott Druno. Thanks for joining me once again. And this is something you're going to make for me that looks really hard, but you're going to tell me once again it's not as hard as it looks, right?
Well, my mission is really to get people to eat more Chinese food at home. So I try to do simpler recipes that take a little preparation, but they're really not that hard.
Okay, and tell me what we're making today, Chef.
So we're going to do a Chinese-style barbecue rib. And I know we're south of the Mason-Dixon line here, but and some old-school barbecue purists might not be happy with this method. But it's a method I found that I've used for a long time that I feel produces great results. Right. So we're going to take a beautiful slab of pork ribs. We want to marinate these overnight. And what we have here is, this is basically the trilogy of Asian cooking, garlic, ginger, and scallions. Yep. That we've chopped and minced together, which you can do a little rougher at home. You can just smash whole garlic, smash ginger, a little bit of scallion.
Is there any oil or anything else in there?
There's a little bit of peanut oil in here too. We're basically just going to liberally rub both sides of the rack. So we have 10 spice plus a little bit of salt, and we're just going to gently sprinkle this over both sides of the rack.
And you can get 10 spice in a container. I've seen it, right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
So this process, we're basically just going to let this sit overnight. Okay. So 12 hours wrapped in your refrigerator. That's step one. Step two, we are going to make a little braise. So the process for these ribs is we're going to braise them, which really is just a culinary technique where we're going to submerge the ribs into a stock, basically a seasoned stock, and let them slowly simmer for 3 to 4 hours so they get tender. The braise is going to be chicken stock as our base, which we have a big cut of chicken stock right here. And then we're going to add all this seasoning right here. So you got hot chicken stock, fermented Chinese black beans, star anise, and cinnamon.
And the whole thing?
The whole thing is on there. We're going to strain this out, so we're not going to actually be eating the star anise and the cinnamon. A couple bay leaves, Szechuan peppercorns, which are basically a flowering bud. They're not a true peppercorn, but they give it a numbing sensation. So we add a lot of Szechuan peppercorns.
Are those really spicy, spicier than the regular peppercorns?
So these aren't really spicy at all. No? They're more numbing and sort of tingling on the palate, as opposed to like a peppercorn, it tend to be more spicy.
Interesting, okay.
So then we have black peppercorns, a little bit of white peppercorns, and now we have some dried chilies. But I've actually taken the dried chilies and I've blackened them in a little peanut oil.
Okay.
And we do that because it adds a smoky, chili heat to it. And then a little bit of Chinese rice wine.
Chinese rice wine, okay.
And we're just gonna kind of cover the rack of ribs in this liquid. You got all those great spices. And then basically all we have to do is wrap this in a little aluminum foil and pop it in the oven. You're gonna go about 350 degrees for about 3 hours.
350, 3 hours.
350, 3 hours. Pull them out of the oven. Nice and hot.
Woo. Wow.
You want them sort of falling off the bone, really tender. You can see they're starting to come apart a little bit. That's what we want. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to fry these to get them crispy. And if you fry them when they're wet, they won't get that crispy. They'll just kind of sputter in the fryer.
Gotcha. So you have to have them really dry.
Right. So you get them nice and dry, which we have here. They're cold, and then we just slice them. We're definitely just going to drop these in a fryer, about 350 degrees, so they get nice and crispy. We make a fermented chili sauce with the fermented black beans. You know, this is a bit of a lengthy recipe to make, so we found a substitute for you at home at H Mart or Great Wall, any Asian market. It's basically a black bean chili sauce. This needs to be doctored. This is really salty and earthy, so we need to doctor this a little bit with chicken stock. So our ribs are starting to get nice and crispy. And we just want to take the ribs, once they start to get nice and crispy, we want to take the ribs to a kitchen towel. So the sauce again is going to be that paste. Like I said, this is salty, earthy, so we need to counterbalance with a little bit of sugar. So we just have a little bit of granulated sugar. And for these we're going to add some oyster sauce. So basically just sort of fermented oysters. This adds a sweetness and almost like a caramel sweetness, so you get some really rich flavor from the oyster sauce. And that's really the base, and if you're to taste this at home, this part of it is very salty, so we need to kind of take away a little bit of that salt, add a little bit of chicken stock to it.
And that just cuts some of the strong flavor.
And that just cuts a little bit of the strong flavor. So we're reducing the sauce, and then what we want at the end of the day is to have a really tender rib, because ribs tend to be a tougher cut of meat.
Yeah.
So the braising process really helps the meat break down, get really tender, but then we're going to quickly fry them at the end to get them crispy. So what we have is nice tender, and then we have crispy exterior. So you get two textures in this. And then the sauce over the top. A little bit of fresh chive garnish. Voila. Chinese style barbecue black bean ribs.
Yum, delicious.
Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Nonstop Foodies DC from 2941 in Falls Church. Of course, my favorite part of the meal is dessert. Look at this gorgeous chocolate pecan bar with cinnamon toast and ice cream, and you know I'm going to take a bite. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at NBC Washington Nonstop and on Twitter at NBC Wash Nonstop. See you next time. Eat well.